Hello, everyone, and welcome to our glorious April development update. It has been a month, and oh boy, for Stephen and I, it has been a month. We've had so much going on. It has been crazy, but in a good way. We're obviously
I'm
ramping
tired.
up as we're heading towards our Alpha 2 that's coming up here in quarter 3. But of course, I'm Margaret Crone, your Director of Communications here at Intrepid Studios. And with me, as always, is Stephen Sharif, our Creative Director. How are you doing today?
I am tired. But I'm doing good. I'm excited. It's a live stream day.
We've had a
And we
lot
get
of
to
late night. Sometimes you gotta do a little crunching. We've had some
Oh
couple
my
weeks of late
goodness.
nights. We had some P4 problems at one point, so it just
Mm,
the
that's
team,
always fun.
yeah, it's always a little stressful, but it's been rocking and rolling, and it's been a lot of good things that have come out of that. Of course,
I'm
today
looking
for
at
oh, go ahead.
by the way, I'm just real quick, I'm looking at myself in the camera and I'm like, whoa, my eyes look terrible. So
It's
I
because you're
apologize.
tired. You can't
I'm
keep
a
them
little bit
open.
tired. I know it's like I'm a little tired, so I apologize for that. But
I know I got like
we had
4 hours of sleep, but I still couldn't. I still woke up. Like, I don't know. But pregnancy problems. I have like
I
a
have
huge
my
bump now, you guys. It's crazy.
oh my goodness, I know that's so
Yeah, I don't know if people
exciting.
could see. Like,
Whoa,
I
look at
know.
that. It's
I'm halfway
happening.
point. Halfway point. We're 20
That's
weeks, so
awesome. That is
crazy.
amazing.
Well,
I
we'll be
love
20
it.
weeks next week. But
Mm.
yeah, Steven's shown off some of our merch that we've been working on. I think we've been getting a lot of questions about merch, and you can kind of see we always tease a little bit in the background, but we are, I mean, I guess I can talk a little bit about that before we get into things, but we are doing a lot of samples right now, and some things are already in full manufacture and the samples have been approved. So it's been pretty exciting. We're
Can I
hoping
just
to.
say to those of you in the audience I see saying that you need this mug. First of all, this is my gallon of coffee for the morning. But second of all, there was some debate on the team about whether or not this is too
Oh,
big.
yeah, you tell us.
Of course, my opinion is that it's not big enough. But of course, you in the audience can say, do you
I think
think
it should
this
just be like an
mug
inch
isn't
smaller, like
what?
in,
No way. Not at all. Look at
because it's weird to hold.
see people saying too small, it's perfect. It's a tankard. I'm
I
telling
like
you,
the
this
size of the mug. I just think like the handle needs to be
I
in a little bit more, just like an inch.
I
But I
don't
love
know.
it.
I feel like the handles is kind of unique,
Oh,
right?
it's
It's
100% unique. So for the mugs that we made, all the mugs are custom mold. We Mike Vecchio designed them. He's awesome. So these
these
are
are so
samples though.
big.
There's some stuff wrong with them. So don't look too
I love
closely.
it. I know. I love it. This is the other
They're not
side.
final samples either.
So good.
Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. And you
Mm.
can see some puzzle boxes in the background for that Steven's got. But of course, today that's not what we're discussing. We are there's always stuff that is simultaneous. People sometimes they think that what we're showing on the live stream is all we have. Homies, we got like 500 things going on simultaneously, parallel to one another.
Yes.
So this is just what we want feedback on for this month. And so for this month, we're gonna have some quick reminders, very quick. We have our Midnight Magic action, which will be showing off some desert area with the nighttime lighting. We know we got a lot of feedback on the nighttime lighting, so we've made some updates. So definitely send us your additional feedback. And then we also have some mage abilities, fire abilities for those pyros out there, as well
Yes.
as we do have weapon combo stuff that we're going to be showing off. And we'll have
Hmm.
some tangential videos that you'll see on social later. So stay tuned for those.
And
Um,
the
yeah,
skybox as well,
yeah.
which is a big change, and many of you guys know about the constellation system. This skybox is going to be facilitating that in a really cool way. I'm excited about the showcase today.
Yeah, and there are still some things that we're working on with the Skybox, so everything's work in progress. Keep that in mind.
Mhm.
And then we'll have a little studio update as well as art update, and we'll do our Q&A as always. And we will be taking questions after the Midnight Magic segment as well, as per usual. We do want to do a little bit of a caveat, and I don't know if you want to handle that, Stephen, or if you want me to,
Which
in
caveat?
regards to Alpha 2
Oh yeah,
content.
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, so this is something, and after this, are we going to be going into Midnight Magic or? Or
We'll
one at a
do
time?
reminders and then we'll go to
Let's do
Midnight Magic.
reminders first, and then I'll do
Yeah.
the
Sure.
yeah,
We
category.
can do that. So, quick updates. We'll just get right into that. Our first thing is our YouTube subscriber comment. And if you would like your comments spotlighted, you have to subscribe to us on YouTube and make sure that you have your subscription public. And then leave us a comment on our development update version of our video. And so this one is from Spillo4900 or 4900. And they want to know, can you guys make an option for UI elements to be switched off or on? For example, I always love to play with less info on my screen, so I feel more immersed. I would love to be able to turn off the nameplates, the health bars, and mainly the glowing circles under every target or player. So I think they just want customization in it. I know we can turn off
Sure.
all the HUD, but I think they want to be able to
Yeah.
turn off the elements they
Individual
want.
elements. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I mean, Colby and Grat and the UI team in general agrees with this sentiment. I do as well, right? We want as much customization as possible. Currently, you can disable some of those elements. We're going to be expanding that to all elements in the future. You can also move those elements around the screen, position them where you want them to. You can increase and decrease the sizes of those elements. Customization is obviously a very important aspect of UI because each of us has unique preferences that are predicated on just what we've enjoyed in the past and how we want to play our game. So we are totally on board with customization, and that will be an
Even
element
in
of the
Alpha 2,
UI.
you can see some of the customization that we have. Like you can move stuff
Yes.
around, adjust sizes of things. So obviously, we're going to expand upon that as we move forward.
Yeah, and right now the by pressing Shift H currently in the game, you can manipulate those elements as is.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. And then the next reminder here is, of course, that we do have some more dev discussions. We've wrapped up our previous one, or we are wrapping up this one, which is the item drops. And we want to know, what types of items and upgrades do you expect to drop from regular mobs? Do you feel good when regular mobs have a rare chance to drop powerful items? Head on over, toss us your feedback. We would love to hear from you guys. I know there's a lot of you out there who are thinking about item progression, and you have some thoughts about this. So if you're not in that thread, I don't know what you're doing, because I feel like every MMO player, this is your life, is chasing after the epic items. And of course, our next one that will be coming up is going to be about cutscenes. So we would be interested in your thoughts. Stay tuned for that.
Dude, I can barely hold this cup up. I mean, it is so big.
I want me to hold it to see how big it is compared to me.
I need to work out. I'm like shaking this thing. It's like, wait a minute.
Well, that's a different problem, Stephen.
Hmm. I need to get
uh,
some weights in the office, just doing the meetings like this
don't
or
say that.
something.
John's going to start bringing you
Oh no,
weights.
I shouldn't say that. Like a
uh,
treadmill in the conference room.
anyways, let's move on to Midnight Magic then.
All right, so there is before we get into Midnight Magic, there is a very important topic that I feel we as a community and as the studio need to reinforce and discuss again. We have said time and time again in the past that our alpha will be a true alpha. And I love going out in the community and reading commentary in Discord and reading the forums and reading the Reddits and reading our social media and kind of listening to different content creators over the weekends as they have their live shows and as they put out videos during the week. I absorb as much as possible because it is that connection I feel with the community that provides a level of insight for player expectation, for player feedback, how we can iterate on what we're doing, right? All of that stuff is a very important thing to just kind of keep on top of. And as I am continually watching and I see the hype growing for Alpha 2 coming up, third quarter this year, and we are still on schedule for that date. But as I am
Yeah, quarter
watching
three.
Yes, correct. For as I'm watching the commentary out there, it feels more and more to me that the expectation is that you are going to be playing a game. And I will go back to what I have said multiple times in the past. This is not an Eastern port over for localization of a completed game that many of us have experienced in MMO land. This is a true alpha. There will be lots of bugs. There will be potential wipes. There will be content that is not finished. There will be things that when you are playing may not be fun because of that. Obviously, the goal is that our core systems and the experience is going to be an enjoyable one, but you are not playing a game, a finished game at that point. You are literally playing a true alpha. And I want you and the community, and I want the content creators to assist us in making sure that that level of expectation is understood by broader audiences, because not everybody tunes in to the live stream. Not everybody follows the project religiously. Like, there are different types of cohorts of players out there that are engaged with us at different levels. And it's important that we make sure we manage expectations that what you guys will be seeing in quarter 3 is the alpha of, excuse me, is the alpha of Ashes of Creation. Now, I'm very excited for what we're building. I think it looks great. I think it plays great. I think what we are presenting as a product is something that the players, a large fraction of the market share of MMO players want. I believe in that very much. And I think that that is validated by the majority of feedback and response that we see from the community when we get these monthly updates. And that's that's part of the purpose why we give updates. Now, in Midnight Magic, which you're going to see, we're going to touch on a number of different topics. And this is kind of like a little bit of a catch up to where we have noticed feedback from the community in the past. And it touches on a few of those things. It touches on um, the nighttime lighting, which was something that we got twice a lot of feedback from the community on. We got it during the Artisanship Showcase, and we got it during the Cleric Showcase, the first Cleric Showcase, almost 2 years ago. And it was overwhelming that players wanted a darker setting for night. So we do these showcases around specific updates where we want to collect your feedback. We're not showing you all of the game during these updates because we want there to be some discovery for that during alpha for those of you who are playing in alpha. So we try to pinpoint topics that are useful to us to make sure that we are either have the right guiding star in how we iterate on these things, and you guys are those stars, right? To use a perfect tie-in of a metaphor for what we're showing here shortly. And then we're also talking about the skybox. A lot of people were talking about how the sky looked a little bit plain, and we wanted to bring up that level of fantasy. We are showing off a biome which you guys had seen a preview of in the past, but not actually seen us playing in within game. Now, very important that when we talk about biomes, biomes, essentially zones, are a lot of work to develop, right, from a content perspective. And what you're going to be seeing here is the Sand Squall Desert, a slice of the Sand Squall Desert. We will be announcing in the future with likely some blog post or during an update,
Probably
probably.
both. Probably like a
Yep,
live stream
yeah,
as well as an article that will go
exactly.
simultaneous with it.
Yeah, where we go into depth on what is expected at the start of Alpha 2. However, what I will say is that Alpha 2 is a long-going testing period where we are going to have significant updates to the game and to the content that's playable over the course of Alpha 2. So when we define our production schedule, and just to give you some insight on the game development side, excuse me, obviously, we have our core feature set, we have the content that's planned, and we bifurcate those into entrance criteria for Alpha 2, right? And that's a list of things that we need to accomplish and that we're in the middle of accomplishing. And then we have our list of updates that we want to release, which is Alpha 2.1 and Alpha 2.2 and Alpha 2.3. And those have a certain cadence, which we'll get into in the future as we talk about, more about what Alpha 2 is going to look like. But to
And with
keep in
those, we'll have
mind, yeah,
updates and articles that go alongside those. But the goal is to get to our exit criteria, which we also have a list of what we want to have at the end, you know.
Yeah, the exit criteria is very big.
It is.
Um,
So it will be a long testing period that we'll
that's right.
have you guys be part of.
Absolutely. And then in addition, what we're touching on here in Midnight Magic is going to be the weapon progression system as well as the wand. And we're going to do something a little bit different with regards to this month's update. We're going to be showing some of that within this, within Midnight Magic. But then we're also, Margaret and her team are going to be working with Brian Ferguson, who authored the wand progression system, and do some additional video content that will be released throughout the month.
Yeah, so
To
you can
give you
see a couple
guys,
different specs because we didn't show
yeah,
off all this. There's a lot of specs.
there's a lot, right? There's a lot of specs. This is an in-depth weapon progression system, and so much so where you don't traditionally see this level of depth within a weapon progression system, as well as having the standardized class archetype system, right? You usually see one or the other, right? Either they're really in depth on the weapon or they're really in depth on the class. We decided to do both because we're crazy. No, I'm just kidding. because it's compelling and it's interesting, right? And
I
that's
think
what
it's
we feel
fun. And
players
when
are going to
when
enjoy.
you think about your class and or your archetype in this case, but in classes that you've played in the past or the customization that you've made for your character, I mean, think about what made it unique, right? Like what made you powerful is like, hey, I figured out this spec that this person didn't use. Or if you think about how people share specs in order to be like, hey, you want a spec like this for this fight and spec like that for this fight. Like that's the whole part. That's the
Absolutely.
fun of, especially for us math and combat junkies out there.
Absolutely. And then last but not least, of course, we'll be showing an update around some of the mage abilities, specifically a lot of the fire abilities, which you haven't seen before. Those have now been authored. And then some of the lightning effects. We got a lot of feedback about ball lightning. We got a lot of feedback about some other skills that we made updates to, because this is the type of relationship that companies who author these games should have with their community. And we want to show that even in active development, we are observing. Margaret and her team put together these glorious feedback reports that
Beckner and Roshan,
collect
thank you for reading
that
everything.
collect across the wide array of areas where you guys make comments, right? And then they present it to the team, and we incorporate some of the feedback that we agree with into how we iterate. And so that's what this video is going to be about. We hope you guys enjoyed. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think the world is looking great and feeling great and immersive. And boy, oh boy! Also, we're going to be releasing this on YouTube, correct?
Yes,
At the same time.
simultaneously.
So remember, if you're watching on YouTube in all of its 4K glory, stick around in Twitch, continue to comment here because your comments do get brought in to our feedback points. And we'll
All
see
right.
you in just a moment.
And we will see you on the flip side.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another update from the beautiful world of Vera. And we have an exciting showcase for you guys tonight. As you can see, we are not in the Riverlands, but instead in the beautiful Sand Squall Desert. And we are going to be talking about, as you can tell already, the nighttime updates with the skybox updates, some mage updates, and a wand. We have an exciting showcase. And I am joined by four absolute glorious developers, three of whom you guys have not seen of or heard from ever. But they do glorious work here at Intrepid Studios. Our dynamically glorious duo lighting team, Chris Logan, Gabriel Ford. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing awesome.
Yeah, peachy.
Love
Glad
it.
to be here.
Glad to have you guys. Glad to have you both. And also, the man responsible for this beautiful skybox that you're seeing, Todd, one of our glorious senior VFX artists. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing great. Proud to be here.
Happy to have you as well. And we have a regular on the stream, one of our senior combat designers, Mr. Brian Ferguson, responsible for all things wand and many other things. Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great.
honored to be here, and I'm happy and I'm just excited to get into all the stuff we've been doing on combat.
I'm excited too because you know what? It's feeling good and it's looking good. So let's get into it. Obviously, you guys can see we have got quite an update when it comes to the lighting and the visuals of the sky. I'm going to jump on my wonderful Shell of the Ancients because you know what? We're talking about skies, and this guy has got some skies on his back. He's got some galaxies on his back. And while I do that, I would love, Todd, to hear from you about what we have done with this sky because it is looking frickin' good.
Well, thanks. What haven't we done? One of the main things we did was we converted it over to a cube map, which means that it can actually rotate as the planet itself rotates, which is something we couldn't do before.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. And you know what? That sounds like it plays into perfectly what we need the Skybox to do, which is provide us some interesting and compelling predicates for our constellation system. So having that true rotation is also a gameplay component, not just visual. And boy, I got to tell you, Todd, those moons look great.
Don't they? I wish I could take full credit for those, but I can't. But I really love the way they turned out with the sky.
Yes, they do look good. Gabe, Chris, talk to me about those moons.
Yeah, so the most recent update on the moons is getting them mainly to respond to the wonderful skybox that Todd created. I don't know if you can find the shattered moon behind the clouds, maybe, but there's definitely some pickup you can see of the nebula behind it, adding a little bit to it, give it a little bit of life, and make it feel like it's really a part of the world, and it's responding to things that are moving. As Todd said, the nebulas will move through the day-night cycle, and so you'll be able to see that reflected in the moons as well. And I know, Todd, you did some work on some of the VFX for the moon, explosions and things like that. I don't know if we might be able to catch some of that happening.
Yep, that is right. You can see it erupting right now. And it's going to periodically do that.
It looks so good. And those of you out in the wild, out in the audience, who are unfamiliar with the lore in Ashes of Creation, we have what are known as harbingers that were kind of the foretellers of the impending apocalypse long before you have arrived back on Vera, one of which struck that moon. And God knows what is happening up there right now, but we know that those harbingers did not bring good things. They were not bringing the best of things to Vera. But, Chris, Gabe, talk to me about this nighttime lighting, because it is looking dramatic and moody. I love it.
Thank you. The big takeaways were responding to some of the feedback from the community about pushing it a bit darker. The nighttime previous to this was a little bit brighter, so we're definitely pushing some of the darkness values. From a personal perspective, I definitely like to push things as dark as the game designers will allow me to. So I'm always happy to respond to that kind of feedback.
We did get that feedback, by the way. We had shown off, I think it was a couple of years ago, our kind of super first pass on nighttime lighting, and players wanted it darker. That was like the overwhelming sentiment that we got from the community, and I feel like with this pass that you have done here with the nighttime lighting, you've struck the right balance between what feels, dark enough to elicit that kind of vibe that you want to see in nighttime, without kind of entirely obscuring vision of other players and NPCs, or requiring a constant torch or light next to you.
Right, and that's the magic of it, right? That's where the fun is for me, and I know Chris will probably agree, is finding that balance of making it feel the inherent feeling of how we understand night and how we enjoy playing games, because nobody wants to play in complete darkness. So it's a lot of balancing on that end, and then working with Todd's Skydome, he's had a lot of really great work with bringing in some an ethereal atmosphere and colors. And, we've been on the lighting side trying to pull from that as much as possible to give night less of a Hollywood blue aesthetic to it. And we've been pushing the purples, trying to give it just as much atmosphere and moodiness as we can get away with in the fantasy world of Vera. And hope that it feels the way that we intend it to. We want it to feel nice and moody and spooky at sometimes, and really push it as far as we can.
Yeah, and Chris, talk to me about your guys' plans continued with lighting. I mean, you and Gabe have obviously been working on lighting here for a few months now, and I know that there's a lot of updates we're going to be showcasing in the future around the daytime lighting, and that's going to be relatively significant for just the general visuals of the game, as we at least can see here with regards to the nighttime update. Talk to me about your guys' plans.
Yeah, so Gabe's working on the TOD system pretty exclusively, and he is doing some really cool stuff that I really has never been done in games before. Some of the stuff he's doing with how the sky reacts, and we actually get color fades from like warms on one end to the really deep cools on the other side. Some of the atmospherics, we're doing some weather stuff that we're hoping to showcase shortly here. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the horizon. That's what I can tell you.
Oh my gosh, I love even how the VFX interact with the lighting. I mean, it really pops. Uh-oh, here we go, hold on. I'm not ready for you yet. You just chill out. Chill there for a second. Brian, we got to see a little bit there of some of the wand updates. I'm going to showcase that again, and then let's talk a little bit about the wand progression. But before we do that, I want to show off an update that the community was requesting with Ball of Lightning. That looks so much better. Oh no, he's got a little weird bug. That's okay, guys. As you know, Ashes is a work in progress. There are going to be little bugs you might see here and there, and we show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Time for you to go to sleep forever. There we go. He's down. I apologize, guys. You guys can see some bugs here or there. As you know, we are working towards Alpha 2. There are going to be some bugs, but Brian, talk to me a little bit about the weapon skill tree for the wand.
Yeah, so we've given this a big pass. What you're looking at here is 7 different ways to customize your weapon. So you can customize the length of your weapon combo. You can customize what your finisher attacks are. In this case, you've specialized them into beam attacks, and you've also increased their damage and their proc rate. What you're looking at there is a status effect proc choice. So every combo hit you do has a chance to proc that status effect. Chilled is a good synergy for your build since you're using a lot of lightning and fire spells. Having the ability to weave a chilled in there is good, like from a hybrid perspective.
And obviously those types of choices are relevant, right? Because you have a lot of horizontal choices possible in your weapon progression that is intended to be spec'd to complement what your ability selections are within the archetype or the class.
Correct. So right now you're spec'd for a heavy beam focus. There's not much proc synergy going on yet because you haven't unlocked deeper procs. It's just all beam damage.
All beams.
Yeah. So on the right side is weapon combo, like the right side of the tree in general is weapon combo progression and synergy within the weapon combo, and the left side of the tree is the procs that you get from the weapon combo. So the upper left of the tree would have a 2 procs that you can choose from that synergize really well with on weapon combo and hit. So every time you complete a combo, you'll be able to, in the upper left, every time you complete a combo, you'll be able to get one of these effects. On a normal combo, it's a 25% chance to get it, but on a beam, it's every time. And that gives, one of them gives additional damage on hit, and the other one reduces the cooldown of the next spell that you cast. So it gives you that nice benefit. Every time you go back into your combo, you'll get something out of it, either just massive damage with this, or you'll get the combo synergy as well.
Now, obviously, a lot of people in the community have been discussing kind of the, combat strategy and approach in Ashes of Creation, blending between what is your weapon progression and your class progression. And this is something that obviously we are looking to receive feedback on in Alpha 2. That's a very important component of Alpha 2's gameplay, is to kind of, collect what the players feel about that moment-to-moment gameplay, weaving between your skill rotation and your weapon use. As you can see, we are investing a lot of diversity, options, and choice within these individual weapons, and players can choose any number of weapons and progress them as they see fit to complement their different types of rotations they'll have access to.
Yeah, each one of these weapons will have a unique progression associated with it, so you'll be able to level up a bunch of them, and they'll level at about like 2.5 times speed. Don't quote me on that, of a normal adventuring level progression. So you'll be able to keep multiples of them leveled up and swap between them.
Update to the ability Arcane Volley. I think it looks great. Siva did a great job with that. Some lightning updates as well, obviously. And as we showed previously, the fireball with 3 successive attacks. Let us know what you guys feel about that as well. I really think it feels good. Let me see if I can find a little dude to try out some of this. Yeah, go ahead.
As you've been casting abilities here, you'll notice that the effects on your weapon are swapping back and forth between different elemental effects. That's signifying that your elemental empowerment status is swapping back and forth, and we've updated elemental empowerment. Now, whenever you finish a combo, it applies the appropriate status effect to the elemental empowerment.
I love that beam. That beam felt good.
Yeah, the beams are really, really sick. I love that all the projectiles and beams change with the elemental empowerment.
Oh, it feels really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of different customization considerations that we are taking into account whenever we're setting up the skill tree. You may want to complete one weapon combo and get back into your abilities rather quickly. That's kind of what you're set up here, with just big damage and not a lot of procs at low chance taken. You could take some higher, more guaranteed proc chance and still have that choice. That's another customization axis. You might want to synergize your ability rotation with weapon procs. Also, you have the status effect application choice. In this case, you're choosing to take something that doesn't synergize with your abilities and instead taking something else that you wouldn't normally have access to easily in your rotation. But you could choose to instead double down on burning and really want to provide a lot of that avenue of status effects for your party, or double down on the electrified, or rather we call it volatile now, that status effect, because that's the role that you're playing in your party. And one thing to keep in mind too is the wand isn't just available to mages, so you could be a cleric or a bard using this, and you want to set up your mage buddy with more tier 1 status effects so that they can capitalize on that and really bring down big damage every time that they're activating one of their abilities.
I love it. I also do love the elemental empower effect on the weapons. And those of you who are wondering, this set that you see here is the Karfin robe set. Oh, let's stay away from that berserker. come over here a little bit. I think we're moving into the more undead territory. But those of you who were wondering, as I said, this is the Carfin robe set. I think it does look great. Character team did a phenomenal job with this set. And obviously the lighting and the materials look really good. I'm loving it. No! No! You were not supposed to chase me. Let's put you to sleep. And then perhaps we will light you on fire with this magma ability and see how that goes.
Anyway, did a pass on all these fire abilities. Noah did a great job with those.
Oh no, the bug again. I'm sorry, guys. He looks like a walking billboard. Yeah, they did a great job with the effects. I think they look phenomenal. Now obviously that's lighting never really stops getting improved, right? And talk to me a little bit about Chris, Gabe, Todd, how that works with VFX, right? How does that work with the game in general as lighting gets updated? You know, what are the repercussions that, you know, we need to update VFX on, and how easy is that to do?
Yeah, so one of the repercussions we're going to run into as we kind of roll out the rest of the day-night cycle. At nighttime, it's not as big of a problem because the values are so much lower. But as part of our update process has been moving the lighting to what we call physically based lighting, which really just means we're trying to, as accurately as possible, portray the sun values and sky values as close to the real world as possible. Which means that the VFX, especially with something like a caster or with magic, they need to still be visible in the game world during, you know, all times of day when the sun is 85,000, you know, units. So that definitely falls onto the VFX team to kind of keep up with that. And I know that they have some tricks within the engine that they've set up to kind of account for that. But Todd could probably speak better to what the ramifications are of us doing this very large overhaul on their end.
Oh boy, can I! Not to get too technical, we have in the materials a material function that will automatically adjust the brightness of emissive particles to adapt to how much your in-game eye is reacting to the light or lack of light. And what that means is, at night you can have something that's really bright, but it won't blind you, but you'll still be able to see it during the day. We can also invert that. We can have it so that effects are more visible throughout the day and the night, and they don't change depending on the incoming light. As we adjust the lighting in the game, we're going to be relying on that a lot, and we may have to tweak it a bit because you really don't want to have the player blinded by the particles that he's throwing around. You want it to look real, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways, as with, you know, all of game development, it's a team effort, but materials, lighting, and VFX are definitely all need to march on the same cadence. And so Todd and I have spent a lot of time, you know, back and forth with VFX that he's been putting together and making sure that it works within the lighting. And a lot of my job is making sure he has what he needs to, you know, make sure that his VFX work and look good across, you know, all times of day and all different sun intensities as it goes from day to night. So.
Oh no. I woke up the undead ones. I do love that beam.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love how it turned out. The tech involved in setting up the projectiles and beams with the wand is pretty cool. We're passing through parameters and adjusting the appearance of the projectiles and beams dynamically. This allows for us to have a more precise timing and allows us to reuse the assets a bit more smartly. Instead of having to make a bunch of different assets for different use conditions, we can make one asset and change it dynamically to fit many different use cases. One example in the wand tree is the beam amplifier passive. When you get back-to-back beams, not only is their damage increased by 50%, but the appearance of the beam gets upgraded. Usually as devs, we would need to employ a lot of smoke and mirrors to get particle effects to work in a bunch of different use conditions, typically by having many things timed out in concert to give the desired result and changing that timing based on different situations. With this parameter tech, we have the ability to control things in a much more direct and responsive way than usual, which results in a higher fidelity product.
You know what else I love? I mean, just sitting here kind of when I was a younger lad, I used to go out to the Imperial County line here in California, out near Ocotillo Wells, and go camping out under the night sky where there's no city lights to infringe upon the beautiful views. And of course we would take, random stuffed animals doused in gasoline and filled with black powder and blow them up and have paintball fights and do, quads and shit. But just sitting here looking at this tree out in the desert with the skybox, I mean, it's very immersive. I think you guys have captured a really great kind of essence of that immersive environment and world that you just kind of want to spend time in and explore.
Yes, also hope, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, those of you out there in the community, this has been an update, obviously, on some of the wand changes, some of the mage updates as well. Oh, let me just dispatch this guy real quick. This risen soldier, we will send him back from whence he came. He can go to sleep. Oh, he died before I could finish that. We also saw, obviously, the beautiful Sand Squall Desert. Now, of course, biomes require a lot of work to be finished, especially from a content creation standpoint, when it comes to quest lines, narratives, points of interest. But as you can see, heading into Alpha 2, a lot of work has been done kind of standing up these basic biomes that we will have populated with content for people to participate in. The Riverlands, of course, being the bulk of that content. Oh my gosh, hey buddy. Let's have you go to sleep. Oh, he interrupted that. Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna kill all these things real quick, and then we're gonna try this sign off one more time. Let's see if we can do it. Let's put him back to sleep first. And we'll do our updated lightning ball, requested by the community. Very nice. The nighttime sky being updated, obviously, to support our constellation system, but also to sell that fantasy that is the world of Vera, because there is a beautiful story to tell, and it is fantastical. And obviously the work that's going into updating our lighting, as you can see here with the nighttime lighting pass, I think you guys have hit it spot on. But of course, we do this so that we can get your feedback, and what we want you guys to discuss on all of the things that you've seen here today, between the weapon progression tree for the wand. How do you feel about those options, both the horizontal options, the vertical options, as well as what we're trying to sell with the wand fantasy, and how it interacts with abilities that you are going to be speccing into your classes. How you feel about the beam. I really think the beam is cool. And also what you guys think about the nighttime lighting, what you think about the night sky, and the beautiful biome that we are in. All of this matters to us very much. We take that into consideration when we do iterations. Brian, Todd, Gabe, and Chris, thank you very much for joining me. I had a great time walking through all of these beautiful updates to the game, as I know our community has. You guys are doing phenomenal work. very, very honored to have you on tonight's stream.
Yeah, thanks for having
This
us.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here.
All right, we will see you all back on stream. Bye, everybody.
Hello, welcome back. While we're chatting, we'll have the video kind of playing in the background, so you can kind of check that out. There were some questions. It seems like generally people are liking the nighttime lighting, but of course, definitely send us your feedback. We'll be compiling that for the development team. But there were some questions that were in chat. We had like the YouTube chat going, we had the Discord chat going, we had the Twitch chat. We're in all the places. Our community team's pretty awesome, and they've already grabbed some stuff. Not as many as normal, but for this one, people are wondering, how will weapon combos work when the weapon doesn't necessarily fit the archetype? For instance, if I'm a mage and I want to use a bow, how will that work?
Yeah, I mean, so right now the way we're approaching weapons is that you have two dedicated slots. Excuse me, actually, technically you have three dedicated slots. You have a ranged weapon,
You can
you have an
weapon swap.
offhand, and a main hand, and you can toggle between your ranged or your melee. When you use an ability, depending on the type of ability, it will immediately swap to the appropriate equipment slot and then swap back once the ability is completed. When it comes to kind of the versatility of each of these archetypes being able to spec, different types of weapons, that is a customization option that's going to be essentially players can make bad choices, right? We're letting players make choices that may not mix as well as other choices, and that's okay. It presents some interesting, horizontal options to the player. But at the same time, there is going to be something for each archetype or class that's present within each of the weapon skill trees. So, excuse me. So if you're choosing to use a bow or you're choosing to use any type of weapon, you're going to have options within that skill tree. And by the way, just to kind of comment a little bit on this showcase, our goal here was to kind of have a lot of little updates within one video. Next month we're going to have a very big showcase around a very big feature, but this month we wanted to kind of update the community on how we took feedback across a number of smaller updates and kind of collect what you guys think about those changes, which to me seemed like it was very positive. You guys agree with the lighting position, the wand updates, and the mage updates.
And we'll kind of be alternating. We'll be doing some things where we're trying to gather feedback on like smaller pieces, and some will be bigger pieces. So just kind of, stick around with us. We got a lot to show. We got a lot to share, and a lot of things that we want feedback on. So this next one is, will spell effects light up and reflect off of the environment in the same color or appearance as the spell?
Some spells will. It kind of depends on the spell. Right now, we are talking, obviously, leading into Alpha 2, we're going to be starting to focus on more performance with regards to both the client and the network. Some of those lights can be expensive. We're going to probably be introducing more light effects that spawn off of the particles for the surrounding environment, but perhaps don't cast shadows. We'll be seeing about that over the course of the next few weeks or so, and probably we'll have an update either within the next month or the month thereafter.
Okay. And the next one here is, once the transition from light to dark starts, how long will it take? Are we willing to share that with folks yet?
Yeah, we're talking about generally like sunset or sunrise. That will probably last anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes or so to see that transition between night and day.
People are going to get some cool time lapses. I think it's going to be fun.
Yes.
The next one is, will there be interactions between elements? Like if you cast a water-based spell followed by a lightning spell, will this increase damage taken by mobs?
Absolutely. That is the fundamental interaction between abilities, is that you set them up and you knock them down, right? And this is kind of keyword
It's kind
interactions.
of part of our
that-
status effect stuff. Different
Absolute-
abilities put status effects on creatures, and then you can exploit
Yeah.
those.
Yeah,
And not
some
only
of
you
those-
can exploit that, anybody who's fighting with you can exploit them.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the intent is to provide a environment where parties can execute well, or again, execute badly in those setups, right? And that's, I think, what makes for compelling gameplay.
And then the next one here is how easy is it to level weapon skill trees? So if I'm starting, like how much time is it going to take for me to like progress and kind of spec these
Yeah,
things out?
that's 100% something that we're going to be testing as part of Alpha 2, obviously. But our initial finger in the wind is going to be that it's roughly 3 times faster, two to 3 times faster, for you to maximize the leveling of a particular weapon skill tree versus that of your adventuring level. So it is chunky. There's still some amount of time that needs to be dedicated in order to fully execute on, that progression. But it's not as long as the adventuring class.
All right. And with weapon leveling, does it mean you will level per weapon type, or will it be per weapon? And if I get a better wand, for example, will I still have to level that up again?
Yeah, it's weapon type. So if you start advancing within the wand class of weapons, you will persist that progression across all wands that you acquire.
Cool. And then I'm going to grab actually a question from the forums that kind of pertains to wand slash mage stuff. This is from Jibs IRL asking about spell slinging. Where does the team pull inspiration from for wand weapon combo VFX?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously wands vary across a large variety of different fantasy stories that have been told throughout time. And we kind of collect inspiration from all of them, right? In the way that we are either animating the wand attacks, in the way that we are, selling the visual effects fantasy for the wand projectiles. That beam is something that um, in the past we kind of moved away from, but this time around we thought that Siva would do a great job in authoring the effects for that, and it felt good in playtesting, so we wanted to show that off to the community.
I think we have one more that came in last minute, and then we'll be on this will be our penultimate one. Do we know whether there might be magic connected to time or time of day slash night, like magical rites or rituals that can only be casted during certain times or effects?
Yeah, there is definitely magic that relates to time. There is actually a god of time. um and so, hold on, let me see if I can. It
She
might
was
be
bringing
something
up
that
design docs.
I know. I was about to see if I wanna reference it. Well, we haven't
We haven't
finalized that
talked a
per
lot about
se.
that stuff.
Yeah, probably not. But there is obviously a god of time. There is the ageless warden, who is the goddess of time, Eterna. And there are elements in gameplay that we want to incorporate when it is relevant to cast certain types of spells.
Cool, cool. And this is the last one. It's not really or it's not really a weapon combo or lighting specific, but I think this is something that we get quite often, which is when we see other archetypes. So we've shown off a few of them. People are wondering about Bard, Summoner, and Rogue specifically.
The Bard is is currently in phase 2 of its development, which is essentially finalizing its visual effects. And we will probably have a showcase for Bard within the next few months.
Exciting, exciting. People are gonna get hyped. We did do a little teaser a few streams ago. That was really funny. Obviously jokes, but hopefully people enjoyed it. We have definitely been working on Bard stuff. And of course, we do have a feedback thread over on our Midnight Magic preview action. So if you haven't checked that out, feel free to head on over to our forums and give us your feedback. We would love to hear it. Our team does an amazing job of putting together feedback reports, and the development team goes over those and ensures that we're on the right page. So hopefully, your initial feedback to us in regards to nighttime, you're seeing some updates from reading so far on the platforms that we're on right now. It seems like you all are kind of happy with the direction that we're going, but do let us know your thoughts. And of course, on the wand weapon combos, let us know your thoughts on that. And we will have some more videos coming with some other specs and stuff like that. So if that's something you're interested, follow us in all the places at Ashes of Creation. And with that, we will swap over to our studio update to talk a little bit about how the studio is doing and maybe also expand on some of the other stuff that we're working on. Because I mentioned it earlier, we are working on a lot of things simultaneously. I'm not going to have Steven
Yeah.
list them all out. We'll be here all day.
No, I was gonna say, what are you asking me to do here? It's like I'm going through everything. Yeah, studio update. We have had a lot of people join the studio over the course of this last month. I believe we've probably had around 10 to 12 or so people who've joined over the last month. And I
Yeah,
think we have
I probably
another,
can
we have
look.
another, we have another 7 or 8 that are joining in the next month. So, studio's growing. Obviously, with nearly 200 people now in the studio, we have a lot that's going on
13
across the,
in
13.
April.
Wow.
I have 13 emails at least.
Nice. So, we have a lot that's going on right now. It is definitely production mayhem as we are coordinating all of this, all the work that needs to be done. But yeah, no, things are going well. Things are going very well. We had a lot of progress that's been made towards our Node War system, which people are going to be seeing within the next month. Node War is obviously a big repeatable loop of gameplay that is going to be central to Alpha 2, and it taxes our network. We've had a lot of optimization efforts, both as part of the playtesting that PI has been a part of, helping us to kind of profile some of that network work that needs to be done from a optimization standpoint, but also some of the client side optimization that Zach Mallet has been spearheading. A lot of progress made on all of those fronts. We are currently in milestone 9. And within milestone 9, we will be feature complete when it comes to our entrance criteria for Alpha 2. And in milestone 10, we will be polishing and essentially, making that stuff ready from a player perspective for
Bug
Alpha 2.
fixing.
And bug fixing is a big part of that, obviously. So we'll be squashing lots of bugs. We'll need some fly swatters at the studio from the community if you want to send some over. Um, but yeah, no, there's a lot of great progress. A lot
Don't tease
of
them,
work being
Stephen. They
done.
will. They want to. They want to help. They're like, "Let me in. I will find the bugs for you."
Absolutely.
You're going to find plenty of bugs in Alpha 2. Again, like Steven said, it's an alpha. There's going to be bugs, and we'll have a way for you to report them as well. I think we had over 9,000, although like 6,000 of those were like dupes from Alpha 1. But hey, we did resolve a lot of those issues. So thank you all for reporting them. We appreciated it. Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up studio update wise? I think on the hiring front, the only thing I want to bring up is that we do have a lot of engineering roles and a combat design role that are like our big roles that we've been we need more help finding the right candidate for. So if you
Yes.
know people in those engineering roles or in the combat design role, definitely send them our way. We're picky. We're trying to find the right people that fit our culture as well as the skills that we're looking for.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that as well, like we have, I don't know, I think we had like 4,000 or 5,000 applicants
Oh, for the
last month.
junior design one too.
No, it's just like there is a lot. We're getting a lot of interest, obviously, which is great. We love it. We want it. But if you are one of those people who have applied, be patient as we kind of screen through and excuse me, and go through the application status. It could sometimes take a week or two for your application to kind of get processed.
Cameron's been powering through. I want to give a shout out to him. He's been killing it. It's a lot of candidates to go through. And I know that on the social front, Peter has been messaging people on LinkedIn as well, letting you guys know that, hey, just be patient with us. We are doing our best. We're trying to power through them. Like you said, there's a lot of candidates to go through and we're not just like moving them along, right? We read your cover letter. We look over your resume. We look over the answers to the questions that you put forward, and then we kind of delve deep into who you are before we like even go through an interview process with you. So
Absolutely.
it is time consuming, and you will never ever get a message from us on a social platform about your job. it will always come from our like professional means. So if you do not get a response from us in that way, then it might be fake. So do not get scammed. I know there's a lot of hiring scams out there. And with that, I'll move over to our art update. The first one here is we have some chef outfits. Ooh.
That looks
We've-
cool.
yeah.
And what is this? This is a chef?
Yeah, so we've got two different chef ones. We've got the gingham chef female outfit and the male one. I'll show you both of those.
And these are artisanship
Yep.
gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those of you who are
There's been a lot of artisanship buildings too and stuff being made.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty cool.
a lot of the artisanship professions have associated gear that you can acquire, which improve your artisanship profession skills if you wear them while you are excuse me, if you wear them while you are performing your profession actions.
Like, if you don't like them, give us your feedback on them. I see some people's commenting. Obviously, it's not finished. These are the model phases.
Sculpts, yeah.
Yeah, sculpts of it. And then we've got the Storm Snapper. So if any of y'all grabbed
Yay.
that, this bad boy has a model now. Looking awesome. I feel like it's very fitting for the nighttime sky because he's got a little stargazing device on there, which is pretty cool.
Hey, that model looks so true to the concept.
I know it's a little
It looks
creepy.
great. I
If
think
you look at it, you're like, is that concept? No, that's a model.
yeah, that Jinsey made that, and she made a couple variants for that turtle too that I thought looked great.
Yeah. And then Sam and Danny worked on the chef stuff. And then Sam worked on some gear. So we'll look over those. These are like kind of gear progression for Rankai. I know we've got a lot of Rankai lovers out there. So there's heavy gear progression, light and medium. And obviously this is just kind of sketching the concepts of like how we're building them out. This isn't necessarily final, but very cool. You can kind of see where we're headed with like the progression of tier 1 gear all the way to tier 5 and the different complexities of tier 5 gear. So
Looks great.
hopefully people are
Sam
liking
did a great
that.
job there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then last, we've got actually some more architecture stuff. It is Aelin building details. So Joe worked on these and they're very elegant.
Yeah, those look great too. Joe did a great job with these. This is all the filigree that's going to accompany much of the Aelin rune sets that are incorporated across, different parts of the former Aelin Empire. Obviously, these cultures had a lot of time to develop their own unique art styles that you can see kind of represented there with the lion's heads and the lion bodies, obviously is a core, figure within the Aelin history. Looks great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And then we've got our Q&A segment, which I'll play the video of the Midnight Magic action whilst we go over some of those questions really quick-sies. And then there's one other thing I want to grab, so I'm going to grab that really quick. Okay. So our first question here is from Nikras, and they want to know about castle NPCs. What level are the mobs in NPC occupied castles?
They are level 50.
Level 50.
They are max. They might be level 55. We'll see.
Make a little challenge.
Yeah.
Cool. And the next one here is from Casti, and they want to know about freehold props. Will players be able to raise flags or banners on their personal freehold lots and buildings? And I know we've talked a little bit about flags and banners and things like that, but
yeah, 100%. That is a definite inclusion with regards to props that you can place within homes and within freeholds for you to display your colors.
all right. And then the next question here is about RNG exposed, and it is from Anion, and they want to know, will RNG probabilities for artisanship professions and drop rates be made public?
In some, some might and some might not. It just kind of depends, right? It depends on what we're talking about specifically. Yeah.
Can you
And
talk a
then
little bit about what might be visible?
you will likely see the, percentage chance of success when it comes to enchanting particular armors and or weapons, when you attempt to make the enchantment choice. You may see the successful completion of your crafting result when attempting to, the chance of successful completion for crafting results when you attempt to craft risky things. But what you might not see are going to be drop chances. There's going to be, um, variance within those drop chances as well. It just kind of depends. It's kind of all over the place when it comes to econ in general.
All right. Cool, cool. And then we've got mayoral politics. This one's spicy. Hugh Jordan wants to know, it was mentioned that an elected mayor can give insider information on upcoming commissions. What prevents a mayor offering very high rewards for very low returns? Could this siphon off node resources and be open to abuse? I mean, you voted them in. Or, well, no, this is for economic.
So the question is, what prevents a mayor from
Yeah.
manipulating the
The
purchase
commission
option
systems. Yeah.
for this is probably more relevant to buy orders, I would say. And the intent is that the mayor does have the ability to influence what those purchase prices and buy order types are. That's a power that comes with being elected or winning the election result. Now, what you do is going to determine if you stay in office, probably, depending, of course, on the election type. But there are some safeguards with regards to, how much the player can
There'll
manipulate,
be
right?
options that they
There are
are choosing
clamps,
from. Yeah.
right? And there are also clamps on setting, purchase prices and whatnot. So that's important. There are some rails there.
Okay. This next one kind of falls in line with it too, which is from Falcath, which wants to know about diabolical elections. What stops a player from an enemy node bidding on your economic node mayoral election just to grief it after they get elected?
Only citizens can bid on the economic
Yeah,
node
but let's
election type.
say I was previously a citizen of another node. I really want that node to succeed. So I renounce my election or my citizenship, become a citizen of another node. And now my goal is to infiltrate that node, right? Like take over it, use my money to be able to become mayor and basically tank it so that my other
Sure.
node, my friends over here, can take over.
Well, that sounds like a strategy.
Part of the
And
game, apparently. That's Steven's
yeah,
in
I
for
was gonna
it.
say that sounds like a strategy. There are obviously going to be certain mechanics that when a mayor engages with its node requires buy-in from the citizenship. So, the mayor is going to have a certain amount of mandate energy. And that mandate energy can be spent on, promoting certain policies, electing certain buildings to be constructed, choosing certain trade agreements and alliances. And many of those things require the citizenship to kind of buy on through either voting or engaging with those systems, to determine whether or not the mayor can successfully do those things. So there's a bit of a relationship between what the citizenship wants and what the mayor wants.
Our next one here is want to buy dungeon runs or WTB, and this is from Lloyd. Will open world dungeons have a negative feedback loop for those who are busing or carrying dungeons for lower level players? So,
Negative feedback loop.
yeah.
What,
Will I
what do
be
we
able
mean by
to
that?
kind of, if I'm, you're a newbie and I'm like, hey, I'll take you over here and you can pay me some gold and I'll level you up.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Get you
yes.
some fat gear.
So generally, there is a level disparity mechanic that prevents players who are outside of 9 to 10 levels of the highest level within the party from collecting experience through their adventuring. So to some degree, there is a safeguard with regards to that. And then obviously, the way that we cater the experience, the encounter experience, um, depending on those locations, are going to require that a party is operating at a high efficiency level in order for them, in order for it to be efficient for that lower level player to participate and gain levels in a way that makes sense, right? So I think there are some safeguards with regards to that. And the other thing is that, like, if you're paying other players to power level you, or you're engaging in any type of like RMT, we have behavioral heat mapping, which will help us identify those individuals and take action.
Yeah, we'll have customer service who are looking over those reports every morning and going through and looking, investigating. And then our next one here is a new user experience from Cannerson. What is your approach from a UX standpoint for new players to easily understand the complexity of systems through Ashes of Creation's UI instead of resorting to external player means?
Yeah. So we do intend to have, and this is for entrance criteria of Alpha 2, trigger response when players engage with certain systems for the first time, or when they are entering a certain area for the first time, or entering a node for the first time, that they will be able to kind of be prompted with information about how they should go about, first time user experience sort of thing. That is going to obviously help orient players to the different systems within the game, because there are many. Um, yeah, that's a relatively standard approach that we're taking as well.
And then our next one here is from Kadak, and they want to know about PvP testing. Performance in various PvP systems, such as Caravan, Arenas, and Guild Wars, is said to be measured over the course of 6-month PvP seasons. How will this be measured during Alpha 2, considering there will be server wipes? And I do want to be clear that our goal is to not have server wipes in Alpha 2. We want to
Yes.
have persistence. That is the point of the persistence. We may have times where we come down for updates and things like that, but the goal is to not wipe if we don't have to. We will if we have to.
Yeah. So entrance criteria for Alpha 2 will be that we have Guild Wars and that we have Node Wars. And we will be keeping score of those things, and players will be able to see those scores. We will likely not have the season update until after Alpha 2 begins, probably in a 2.1 or 2.2 update for Alpha 2. The goal
Don't hold
there
us
is
to those
obvious.
numbers.
I know. The goal there is obviously that, players can rinse clean kind of the history in the season, and start fresh. Whether or not those will be 6-month, I think that's the goal of Alpha 2, is to help test that. It might be shorter than that. But the intent is to have a system that provides ability to kind of track your wins and losses, and to have those wiped fresh on some cadence.
And Alpha 2 is going to be a longer testing period. So
Mhm.
prepare yourself for that. And then Voxtrium wants to know about development tools. Are the development tools that are needed to help with world building and game assets completed? And I will let you know, development tools never end. You're constantly adding
Yeah.
and making new ones.
I was gonna say, even for games, that have been launched for a while, the tools are, constantly getting touched up and changed. I would say that no, our tools are not completed. Obviously, what completes them, you know, tools are kind of stood up generally bare bones fashion, and then they get updates and updates and updates and make the life of the user who's utilizing those tools easier after there's response from, the developer who's the customer and the author of the tool. That's a back and forth that's just continually happening. Um, there are, some tools that will require some iteration depending on what we see during testing as well. So our tools team is hard at work, continuing to provide updates to the existing tools for the developers, as well as creating more tools.
All right. And our last question, which is from Placid Moose, wants to know about resource sinks. Are mounts and the animal husbandry profession intended to have the same scarcity or resource sinks that other in game items and professions may have?
Mounts themselves are not, unless we're talking about flying mounts. And then the animal husbandry, absolutely, there's a lot of sinks in animal husbandry. But when you create a mount and that mount exists, that mount is not going to disappear, at the end of a lifespan or, be killed. You will be able to revive it.
All right. And that is it for our questions. But if you have more questions, Stephen is going to be doing an AMA with some wonderful content creators, Vladis, Nice Gaming, Sunny from Loreforged, and Jamie Chaos. So we would love for you guys to tune into that. That will be live right here, twitch.tv/Ashes of Creation on May 10th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Pacific. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. And if you have questions, ping those guys. Try to get your question on their list. I know some of them have already sent some over, but I did give them till like the day before to check in. So yeah, we're excited to do that. I'm excited to see
Yes,
what they ask Stephen.
I'm very excited for that AMA. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. And with that, we are wrapping up. Any final things that you want folks to know from your perspective, Stephen?
No, I think it was a a great stream. I think we're making great progress. Obviously, as we continue to develop towards Alpha 2, we are gaining progress every day, right? The team is hard at work in achieving that. We will continue to give you updates on how things are going. Right now, things are looking good from a production standpoint. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great test session, Alpha 2. I think people are going to be participating in something that is unique to the space, and I'm excited to see how people respond.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I know my team's most excited for that because that's when we get a lot of social interaction. That's when we can do stuff with you guys in game and run events and stuff. And especially with a longer testing period, we'll get to do a lot of fun things. People keep saying that's your phylactery.
That's my
Your mug.
phylactery. I would hide my phylactery. Would be out in the open.
Put in plain sight, no one would know.
Yeah.
But of course, join us for that AMA. And then we also have our forums. We would love for you to head on over to forums.ashesofcreation.com. Send us your feedback. We have a thread already up for Midnight Magic. So anything that we showcased in this live stream, we would love your feedback on. And of course, we want to say a huge thank you to all of you who tune in live. We appreciate you spending your time with us and hanging out and chatting with us and giving us a pulse on how we're moving forward and progressing our product. And of course, thank you to Christopher, Gabe, Brian, and Todd for joining us for the showcase. And of course, you, Stephen, for your time. We hope that you guys stay healthy and happy, and we'll see you on, well, in less than a month, because we're going to see you for the AMA, because you're going to tune in for that, right? And so we'll have the VOD right here up on Twitch immediately after. And then if you're over on YouTube, I apologize. It's going to be 720p because I had to reformat my PC and it downscaled for some reason. So we'll fix that. Apologies. But that will be over up on YouTube. Make sure you leave a comment on that dev update and subscribe, and make sure your subscription is public so that your comment can be spotlighted in the next live stream for our development update live stream. And of course, follow us in all of the places. We are at Ashes of Creation in every social platform. We would love for you to hang out with us. And we are going to be showing off some other specs that you did not get to see with the wand here. So you'll definitely want to check those out over on our socials. And we will see you all next month. Well, less than
Bye,
next month.
everyone.
We'll see you May 10th.
May
Keep
10th.
saying next month. Bye.